Welcome to Shooting the Bull, the official podcast of the championship darts circuit. A casual conversation about the sport of darts, talking about topics of the day from a North American perspective, featuring a cast of characters and contributors from the CDC roster and the world of darts. Now here's your host, Anthony Eugenia.
All right, welcome in, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to the latest episode of Shooting the Bull, the official podcast of the CDC. I want to welcome in all our viewers on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Please like the stream this evening, and if you will, subscribe to the pages. If you're in the chat room, don't forget, leave a comment or a question, and you too can be part of the show later on in the evening. For our podcast viewers, welcome in. Hope you enjoy the program. Please give us a 5-star review on your podcast platform of choice. It helps us distribute the show to new viewers to darts and new listeners to the podcast. So I want to say welcome to all of our viewers worldwide, North America, and of course, here in my new home state, the great state of Texas. Welcome in. Enjoy. Without further ado, let's get to our contributors for this episode. He is a globetrotter, even though he's not even touched the basketball. You know him. We love him. He is the CEO of the CDC, Mr. Peter Citera.
There's a lot of C's in that. I'm having some internet issues. Hopefully I'll stay with you. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
We played you in baseball style, my friend. Jeff McMahon.
CEO, CEQ, DCC, whatever. We'll pick 3 letters, string them together.
Peter Citera of Chicago. It's my favorite line of all time.
I am a man who will fight for your honor. Don't forget that.
Now joining myself and Peter, our second contributor for the evening, a connoisseur of MMA and PDC, gentleman who heads down to the Bronx and they say, "What accent?" I had another line, but I can't remember it. So let's go to Mark Taggart.
What accent?
I know. I was going to give you a little Bruce Buffer fighting out of the green corner from Westchester County, New York, by way of Belfast. It's me, Mark Taggart.
I love it. You've got a new calling here. I like it.
Welcome in,
Pleasure
my
to
friend.
be here. How are we doing?
Good to have the boys in tonight. We're going to do a little chat on first. We'll cover the recent Grand Slam. Peter was on site, and I know, Mark, one of your favorite events, and that's what why wanted you bring in on this to talk Grand Slam. And I've been waiting for Mark's been on for like a half hour behind the scenes, and I've been waiting for him to catch the shirt. Does the shirt ring a bell? Shirt does not ring a bell. The first time I met Mark Taggart, we were playing in Griffin's, and he looked at me, goes, "You follow the PDC?" And a friendship was born. And this was the very shirt that I had on when I met Mark Taggart. Oh, so many years ago, probably a decade and a half now.
It's a long time.
So
all that means is you're old.
Yes, pretty much, Pete. Thank you very much. Yes. Always good for Citera to come in and squash, a little dose of reality.
Excited to be the youngest guy on, but Taggart, I think, has that honor.
Just a bite.
Shut up, Eugenia. You're old. Thanks. You sound like my son. Thanks. Jeez it, kid. So Grand Slam. So let's start from, of course, we're going to talk Leonard Gates in a moment, our Continental Cup champion heading over there. But obviously, big stories in that round robin phase. I mean, nearly unheard of. You in the round robin, the 1, 2, and the 3 seeds don't get out of the round robin phase in Luke Humphries, Michael Smith, and Michael Van Gerwen. And I think the other thing that was a real big story in the round robin phase, Vessel Nyman throws 3 averages of a 106, a 105, and a 111, does not win a game, and doesn't get out of that group. I mean, amazing stuff there. He loses to Bunting, Rock, and Van Veen, and just incredible stuff. I've never seen stuff like that, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, go ahead, Mark.
Mark.
I thought it was a dream event. Personally, there was a lot of things that happened beyond some of the shocks, which are really, quite frankly, not even shocks anymore, especially in those short formats, first to 5. Like, it's one of the reasons why it's one of my favorite events. Beyond the round robin piece, there's so many people that just, they have a chance to cause problems, and we saw it over and over again. Beyond what you're saying, the Van Veen and Wessel Nyman group itself was just the standard in that group with the rest of the cohort that were in there. I don't think we've seen anything like that. I'm pretty sure we haven't seen anything like that. The numbers would absolutely dictate that. But the standard of play between the 4 fellas in that group was just phenomenal. But one of the things that was really endearing to me was a couple of the underdogs, quote unquote. So the Lukemans of the world, the Menzies of the world, even the Mickey Mansells of the world. I won't get too bogged down in Mickey, but I was very happy to see the qualifiers really take their opportunity, work hard, understand where they're at, the relevance for that money, the 50,000 for those players. You know, I don't want to overstate it, but it's life-changing and it's career-changing for some of those players, because it actually makes them more comfortable for the next year coming, secures their PDC place, and it just takes a little bit of pressure off them going into the world. So lots of good stuff and lots of subplots.
Yeah, not only money in the bank, but as you see, you know, you move up those rankings and you start to get to those plateaus that in the PDC just start to snowball, the top 32s and things like that, to where now you have opportunities that the players outside of that realm don't have. To your point about the averages, I looked, there was 32 players who threw above 100 averages in the tournament. Nyman was 3 out of the top 14, and it just shows how he the quality there. But to your broader point as well, the quality of the whole tournament was just amazing. Now, Pete, you were in the room, so walk us through a little bit of the tournament, and then what it was like in beautiful Wolverhampton.
Yeah, Wolverhampton is not going to be on anybody's must-do list. It's not like we're going to Disney World, right? I know I joke about Wolverhampton. If you live in Wolverhampton, I'm sorry. It's kind of like one of my just kicking stones.
It's become our England Sheboygan. It's we kick it around a little bit too much, but it makes us giggle, so we're gonna run with it.
Sheboygan has redeeming qualities. So for me, I'll talk a little bit about being there in a bit, but I agree with Mark's analysis. The story, obviously, from this tournament was Martin Lukeman, right? It's a coming out party. He was fantastic. There's no surprise in the final. He got waxed by Littler. Let's face it, if you looked at that going in, you expected that to happen. Maybe not, by that margin, but you expected Littler, just because of who he is and what he's been doing, to walk away with it, and he did. But don't take anything away from Lukeman. I mean, the road he had, right? I mean, yeah, you got another qualifier in Mickey Mansell, and Mark is right. I mean, Mansell, let's not. Got to give the guy his credit. But he played Rob Cross. He played waxed Richie Edhouse in the quarters. I mean, he is. Ross Smith.
And
Excuse me, in the quarters. Ross Smith
Edhouse as well.
Yeah,
Edhouse, your recent European champion, correct?
Right. It was Lukeman had Ross Smith in the quarters, but the point is he was the story of the tournament. Somebody that Mark didn't mention that I think you got to give props to is Jan Van Veen. That quarter match against Anderson was stellar, right? I mean, he falls 2 legs short with the 97. I mean, that was to me one of the best matches of the tournament. So, this event gave us all the excitement we could want without the top seeds being in it, which is really a testament to where the game is right now, right? There's interest, there's quality all the way down that order of merit, and that's just kudos to the PDC for that. Being in the room, obviously, it was cool it's always cool. I'm a dart geek, right? So, as much as, there's business involved and as much as there's meetings and discussions and things like that, it's nice to be able to just kind of sit down on the floor and watch some darts. I don't get to do it a lot, but I got to do it a little bit at this event. And, it kind of rejuvenated me a little bit. Leonard was great to see him there. He said it in his interview. He really wasn't comfortable on the stage, and you could see it. Like I saw 2 different players. The one in the practice room was totally different than the one on stage, and I know that happens, but there was more to it, I think, than just the stage jitters. I think there's something to what he said. That stage is one of the darker stages of a staged event in the PDC, and I think that had something to do with it. But he acquitted himself well. He needed a big win against Martin Lukeman. I mean, who knew at that point that Lukeman was going to become the story of the tournament? So you can say you lost to the guy who ended up, in the final. I wish we'd have seen a little bit more against Rob Cross, that 5-2. I think he could have done more. He missed some opportunities. And then the right match, he beat Peter, averaged 12 points more than he did. But that was a one leg kind of squeaker, and that match very easily could have been, he could have won it 5-3, 5-2, ends up 5-4. Didn't do himself really any favors going into that last match to have to advance. But as it turned out, Lukeman did what he had to do and got through. But there's absolutely no substitute for being at one of those events. It's just, if you're a dart geek, the World Championship is one thing. But something like this, the atmosphere, it's a nice smaller venue. The crowd's a little bit different, a little quieter to begin with, and they really kind of reward excellence as opposed to just kind of being loud the entire. I love loud, but they really reward excellence.
And I definitely want to hold that mindset, and we'll circle back and we'll talk about PDC fandom and our experiences of going to see them and what it's like to see these events. So, Mark, where he is over my shoulder that way, there's the man up there. Pete touched on it. It's amazing when Gary Anderson has these runs, the how he still can just completely enthrall an audience, and the excitement when he has a match like that against Van Veen, and then that just absolute epic against Littler. The excitement of the Flying Scotsman is just incredible, and I count myself among them. When he's throwing good, everybody has visions of grandeur that this is going to be the next major that Anderson wins.
Yeah, he it's a resurgence, and it wasn't just this tournament. He's had a year where he's been throwing astronomical averages, being super consistent. Always, he sort of plays now with don't know if it's a manufactured chip on his shoulder, but it's something where he's just, I want to prove these young boys and the press that I've still got it in me. And I think he plays better when he has that type of mentality. Plus, I think, he's in a place he's happy in his life. He can choose to do it. He chooses not to do it. He calls himself a part-timer by his own definition. And, with the pressures off him, he's a problem for other people when he's in that mode. And, he's a delight when he's hitting that treble. It just, there's not many better to do it that way. Beauty.
And as you said, I think it tickles him to be a problem. It tickles him to come in and cause issues. So
he's winning the award for best post-match interview. Some of his post-match interviews are fantastic now because he loves to throw a little curveball at the interviewers, and it's great to hear.
There's nothing manufactured about that. Nothing.
Yeah.
The chip.
No, that's Gary. That's Gary Anderson, right?
That's just Gary.
That's just Gary.
It's working.
So Peter actually did get a chance to catch up with Leonard Gates. So we want to hear from Gates himself, and then we'll quickly give people, a review of, what put Gates on that stage and what benefits that he really did reap, in that tournament. So let's go to Gates. We'll come back out and talk about him a little further.
I mean, it's a great experience. As far as playing darts, the competitors that you're playing against, the atmosphere of the crowd, just being here is electrifying. A lot of people don't understand that the stage is kind of different than the practice room, even though there's a board, but the atmosphere is different. Your darts tend to find different, but you got to find where it helps you to where you can hit consistently and be consistently to hit your mark and to win the game. But it's definitely different, but it's something to work for and work towards to doing, and keep coming here and doing it again.
So I want to touch on, Leonard Gates is there as the CDC Continental Cup champion, and what that means. When we talk about, trying to establish life-changing opportunities for people, this is kind of what we talk about. Gates goes over there, he gets 3 chances to play on Sky TV in a PDC major against, big competition, which, people can rank them differently, but like, to me, one of our goals is to get that competition, right? So we put a guy on stage that's going to play against, some of the best in the world. B is that exposure, right, for himself and his sponsors, potential new opportunities. And then 3 is simple prize money, right? He finishes 3rd in the group, and on the exchange rate, he makes $10,000, which is, what they pay out for the North American Championship. So, all in all, I mean, those are big moments for North American players. And even going into that last match, like they were paying out based on groups, right? So he's playing Peter Wright. You're playing for 3rd or 4th in the group. It was a 3,000 pound difference. So, these are the things that we want to, make sure that people are aware of, that when you start out on the road on the championship dart circuit, that these are the opportunities that you're hopefully at home working hard on, on the practice board and coming out from the get-go. So obviously turn it over to our CEO to give us a little more on that, if you've got anything, Pete, just the scope of opportunities for players to head overseas.
Yeah, and they're still growing, right? So what we know now, people that are going to Madison Square Garden next year, we've qualified people for that. You've got the Grand Slam. We got lucky enough. I shouldn't say lucky, but we end up with that spot as it rolls to us, because the winner of the U.S. Not the
North American
Championship, excuse me, was a PDC Tour card holder. So, we get that spot, and Leonard gets on there and acquits himself well and proves he belongs. Every time we got guys going over there now, they prove they belong. And so, look, we've got the new Win More Masters. The new revamped version of the Masters, right? They're resurrecting the Win More name, and then PDC's putting it on. We've got 8 spots in the qualifying rounds for that. So the opportunities just keep coming. And I'm going to go over to the World Championship in about a month. I'm going to sit down again and talk to Matt Porter, and I'm going to plead our case for some more. Now that we're expanding the World Championship to 128 players, I want some of that. Give me some of that. Give
me some of that, Matt. Let's go.
We'll see what happens. See how that conversation goes. But you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So if you're watching, Matt, be prepared.
We all line up at O'Hare as Pete takes off, and we're like, "Good luck, or even 13." It's always a going away party. Do your best, Pete.
Then I get home and it's like the mafiosos. You disappointed us, Mr. Citera. You got to go sleep with the fishes. Leave the darts, take the cannoli. But this went off the rails. But there are opportunities. That's the point. Is there are opportunities to be had, and they keep growing. We're working on some pretty exciting things, hopefully behind the scenes. We're about to announce our schedule in the next week or two. We'll announce our schedule for 2025 a little later than I would like, but there's things going on we're kind of moving parts. But look, Q schools, we'll talk about those later. Your opportunity to get involved, folks, if you want to play, is now. And we're not. The opportunities are there. No one can deny that the path to greatness runs through this organization.
So now we'll put a bow on the Grand Slam. I'll go to Mark first, and then if Pete wants to add anything. So Littler's there on stage, right? After coming out, obviously everybody knows what happened. World Championship last year, wins the Premier League, and then we all saw he had some struggles in televised events. Few first round exits. So now he sort of they kept using the word televised ranking event. I think to sort of signify that he gets one of. They don't want to call it a major. He's got the Premier, but give us some context, Mark, on what that does to him now, maybe psychologically, and to the rest of the field. There's a little track record here of players winning this Grand Slam and then winning the big Grand Poobah in a couple weeks, really.
Yeah, this time of year this is the busiest and the best time of year for darts. Between this one, Players Championship starts tomorrow, Players Championship finals, and then the World Championships themselves. He's gonna be feeling invincible almost, which is a big word to use, but when you throw 107 average in a final, you beat a guy 16-3 and look effortless doing it to win a ranking event like that, televised in a long format like that. It was a thing of beauty to watch, and now he can do that regularly. It's not a surprise, to Pete's point at the very start. You're more shocked when he doesn't, put it that way, than when he does. He's no guarantees that he's going to win everything all the time. That's just not how it works. That's the beauty of this game. But he absolutely puts another piece of experience, another piece of maturity in his quiver, and it'll stand him a good stead. And I can't wait to see what he does in the Players Championships, and then we'll see where he goes from there. And he knew it. The kid said it himself multiple times. When and if I can get my hands on that trophy, I'll be up to number 5. Like, he's a student of the game. He understands the gravity of where these are. He's probably already sort of thinking who he could possibly play in the World Championship based on the seedings and how things could sort of play themselves out when he starts that tournament. I wouldn't be surprised. And, who knows what he's going to do even before that.
Yeah, as Mark touched on, fast and furious. We're talking Grand Slam, but there's the Players Championships starts tomorrow, and we've got a weekend, and then Monday is the World Championship qualifier, and the draw. It just keeps coming. Like, by Tuesday, we're going to be just immersed in World Championship talk. So, any last comment, Pete, on the Grand Slam before we move into greater sort of PDC talk?
Again, just that the event was just thrilling. It was, again, if you can get to a PDC event, and you can't go to the Worlds, this is a great one to go to. It is in Wolverhampton, so you got that. But it really is it's just fantastic. And the last thing I do want to say just goes to echo back to what Mark said earlier. Cameron Menzies was really impressive in this one. I know that he kind of took himself out of that match against Mansell. We kind of saw that there was a little bit of a mental breakdown, but Cam made some real progress here. So are we going to look back at this and say, this was his springboard, just like we look at Lukeman, right, and say this is his coming out party? Is this Menzies' springboard to that next level?
Yeah. Yep. I totally agree. I think he acquitted himself great. He's a fun guy to watch on the hockey, but he's also backing it up with some good darts now. And he's shown resiliency, which I didn't think he had before, in all honesty, with the exception maybe of the last couple of legs against Mickey. But overall, I thought he acquitted himself great in that tournament. And then one other player, just before we leave, I think that needs a shout out is Mike De Decker. he was phenomenal. He could have easily won that tournament. Quite honestly, he was a couple of match darts away from it, and he put lots of people to the test, and I think he was one of the standouts for me as well.
Yeah, that the
the
Decker
Grand Prix.
Littler match, that match was great.
Yeah,
I'm a
I
squeaky
think
bum fan for Littler.
obviously winning a Grand Prix is a statement in and of itself, but the way he performed at the Grand Slam, it sort of I think he made believers out of a lot of people. And I think Gary Anderson brought him up in one of his interviews that was like, this guy's the real deal, And as I think some of us saw on social media over the last couple of days, obviously a pretty good card player. He won a big poker tournament in the last couple of days. So man of many talents. So we've got a question up there, and I'll put that in there, and we'll fold it into just a little chat that I've have in mind. If you've never been to a big PDC event, do you recommend the Grand Slam first? So we'll give some input on that, and Pete gave me a springboard a few minutes ago talking about that. We've all three of us do different things now in the sport, but at our core, we're fans, we're geeks, we're just we love the sport, and then for us, the pinnacle of that is to get to see a PDC event. So, talk to me, Mark, first. What was the first PDC live event that you ever saw, and then maybe another? What's the feel to you of a PDC live tournament?
It can get a little overwhelming to be honest, for the first time, depending on where you're sitting, the event itself, the crowd, just there's lots of stimuli beyond the darts itself. And, the purists sometimes would sort of think, it's become a little bit of a circus depending on the event that you're at. But Pete was spot on. Some of those smaller venues, some of the slightly different events, I think the Grand Slam, because the field's so diverse, it lends itself to pockets of specific support, easy for me to say. And you hear that manifest itself in the matches as they go along. Pete said that they reward for greatness as well. There's also that particular angle where they're there to see someone for a prolonged period because they know the person they like is getting to play at least 3 matches. So it's got a different flow. But to answer your question, there's a bias here, and it's an obvious bias, but my favorite tournament that I've been to was the Grand Prix in Dublin. Another one of my sort of favorite tournaments because of the double in element. But that venue, I feel at home because it's a ton of very rambunctious Irish people, and 2, it's got a lively atmosphere in a smaller venue, especially when it was in the hotel. That venue you could stay on site. It was just great. And then hanging out with tons of the players as well in the hotel bar was an added bonus. I actually, standing in line with a 16-year-old Michael Smith, he was a spectator at the time.
Wow.
And of course, being the dart geek that I am, I sort of knew who he was. He's multiple years younger than me, but I, sheepishly sort of said, hey, you're doing great, probably said something silly and patronizing to him, but he was there to
Stay
be
with
the
me,
dart
man.
And the dart, fan that he is. And, it's great to sort of see that type of interaction and see those people. And if you get the chance to sort of experience the event and maybe some of those subplots of seeing some of the people live up close and personal, even in the walk-ons, for example, if you can get close to one of the front of the lines, the players are great now at, taking a minute, signing autographs, grabbing a selfie as they're walking in. There's just lots of extra bonuses beyond the great darts that you see as well.
So Pete, we will, if you want to get to that MVG story, we will. I saw your face light up about acknowledging young up and comers. But first, I want to direct you to. I don't even know this question. Had you been to and I'm not counting. Pete's been involved in like almost everything that's gone on here in North America, so I'm not counting tournaments that we had here, actual playing tournaments in say Chicago, Atlanta, and so on, that you were exposed to PDC players. Had you been to a PDC staged tournament before having access as an administrator?
I mean, defined before the first tournament I really was at was over here was the Desert Classic, right?
Yeah.
The 2000.
Well, that counts. That counts.
Yeah.
You weren't. What I'm gonna probably embarrass you for a second. Yeah, so you weren't working around the Desert Classic like you are now when you go overseas with your pretty pass and like the Grand Poobah from North America, and everybody tips the cap because it's Citera. So
Stop.
So you actually had to get online at the Desert Classic, is what you're saying.
Correct. Yeah. I mean,
okay. Fair enough.
This was in the days of the Windy City Open. I mean, I was early doors in my promotion career. I just become tournament director of the Windy City Open. Obviously, we had PDC players that came over, but in terms of my promotion career, I was nobody at that point. And so that was really my first experience. And I mean, that's nothing like an event in the UK or Madison Square Garden or really even what it was at the Tropicana. There was still more energy there than there was at the original, the Desert Classic. So I loved it because it was a chance to really go and be, I didn't really know what to expect. It was a great chance to go and do that. So that was pretty special. That was pretty wonderful. But, it's something like, remember they did the Gibraltar Darts Trophy back in the day. And literally, I mean, there were probably 600 people in the audience, which, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'd kill for an audience of 600. If we can get those in our venues, I'm like, that's a huge step, right? But for the PDC, that's like, wow, this is nothing. But the experience you can have in that is, as a fan, is just geek central, right? Because everybody's hair's down a little bit. There's not throngs of fans, and so it's very intimate. And if you're a dart person, that's a totally different experience than, say, the World Championship.
So I have a random photo. Let's see if I can point to it. Yeah, down here in my little set. Oh, okay. You're gonna miss it. That you can see the winners of the Desert Classic, but all the way on the bottom, I took a photo. I can see it, but it's this. I walked into the MGM Arena, and I had to walk a half a mile. It seemed like this big boxing venue, and they had this stage in the middle with some curtains around it, but I think I literally lost my breath that Phil Taylor and Wayne Martel were on a stage playing in front of me. It was a moment of magic that I just will never forget. I stayed for the whole session, and I was asked later, like, was it any good? And I literally left my feet and leapt up and down on just the magical moment it was to actually see these players in front of me competing. And as much as the work we do has attempted to take that shine off of it, it's still there. It's still pure magic to me. I was blessed to go see the World Championships in last December, and I think I sent you a video like as soon as I walked in, just with the stage behind me, and it was just like I don't know that I really was able to just fully take that in, and the experience was just beyond belief. And I've been to MSG now the last couple of years. That's building the excitement I have for MSG next June. And if you haven't looked it up, folks, get on the list to get tickets. It's been moved to the end of June, but like you touched on, the Desert Classic was one thing. The Mohegan Sun was another thing. A lot of us saw those events. What's been going on at the Garden is just light years ahead of that. But I just wanted to touch on, how we still have that little seed of just it's just a magical thing to see these great performers on stage in front of you. It's completely different than pulling it up on the stream, or if you're getting Sky Sports. It's wonderful to watch the tournaments as they unfold on TV, but there's just nothing touches going to see these events in person. Absolutely nothing.
Agreed. No doubt. I mean, the World Championship. So that question, what would you recommend going to the Grand Slam first? If you're a darts fan and you just want to experience one PDC event before you die, I'm going to tell you, you got to go to the Winter Gardens in Blackpool. I mean, that's just, everybody says that's it, and it's just the venue's legendary. Not that the Alley Pally isn't a legendary venue, but the crowd at the Winter Gardens is much more darts oriented. It's not just out for a little holiday party oriented. And then there's probably a little bit for me of jadedness because the World Championship for me, I have to really force myself to enjoy it, to remind myself that, hey, this is pretty freaking cool. Look where you are. Take a step back. Quit being so grumpy, and really enjoy the opportunity to watch, your guys, our guys, right up on that stage, and just appreciate how far the game has come. Not just us. I mean, we've come a long way, but the game as well. It's a work trip for me, right? And it's constant. And so, there are times I joked with Dave Allen last year. I'm like, oh look, sixth day in a row. He's like, mate, I got 16 of these things. He's like, sixth day in a row. Go away. But it is like, it just becomes just work, and
yeah. I mean, there is a certain a feel to going over to the coffee station by the practice board for the media. Like there's it's a work workstation for people. They, like you said, they're there for weeks.
You know what? I'll tell you what. I got my love of Yorkshire tea at the World Championship in the media area, and Dave gave me a box to take home last year. So thanks, Mr. Allen. Appreciate that. Still got about 72 tea bags because there's like empty bazillion in there. But
so, Mark, free flight, free hotel. Which tournament are you going to go to?
That's a tough one. Probably Blackpool. I think there's an element to Blackpool that Pete touched on that is very unique. Cliche would just say Ali Pally, but I honestly I prefer the smaller, more darts specific audiences. Long format match play brings out just some fantastic big sort of matches where people can get stuck into each other. That is the sort of spectacle with the venue, with the crowd, and the actual quality of darts in the format. That's probably the one that I would choose. Plus, there's good ice cream on the boardwalk too.
That's the way to finish up. So there's our little chat on the Grand Slam and, PDC fandom, and quite honestly, CDC fandom. This is something we're building. So if you want to, get your toes wet, come out to a CDC event, and that'll lead you to MSG, and that'll lead you over to London and Blackpool. So as a player, if you want to find out how you can now earn your card and, come compete on the 2025 circuit, here's a little info piece, and then we'll be back with the second part of tonight's episode. All right. Welcome back into this latest episode of Shooting the Bull. I'm your host, Anthony Eugenia, joined by the contributors, Peter Citera and Mark Taggart. So now let's turn our attention to another event that's going on starting next weekend, Friday, November 29th, and that is the WDF World Championship, and that is going to take place at the iconic Lakeside. And we were just talking about famous venues, and I will be brutally honest a little bit. I think part of this tournament's attraction now has somewhat evolved to the venue, is the history that is on, that has taken place on that stage and in that venue. BDO World Championships held there from 85 to I think 2018, 2019. Actually, maybe even 2020, if I'm not mistaken. So this year, WDF World Championship, this is the third running of the, transitioned BDO into WDF World Championship. And we've got some players. Before we get into the games and the players, let me, get Peter and then Mark's take on the event itself in reflection on, what else is going on in the landscape, and that idea of there is a real attraction to going to get the chance to play at Lakeside.
Absolutely. It's older. It's it used to be the world championship, and now the bloom obviously kind of fell off the rose a little bit towards the BDO's last couple of dying gasps, but I think WDF has done a pretty good job. They brought it back, right? It's on. We'll talk about our players. I'm excited about doing that, but it's a great event. It's the amateur world championship is really what it is. And I don't say that with any sort of disdain or any sort of derogatory connotation. It's a great world championship, and being
Absolutely
there and
not. I
representing,
think that's proper.
yeah, it's wonderful. It really is. The venue is iconic. It's a little long in the tooth now. I think that a lot of people that have been there would probably say that if they've been there recently. But yeah, it's Lakeside, right? It's up there with the iconic darts venues of all time. There's no doubt about it. Alley Pally, Lakeside, Circus Tavern. I mean, they got to be mentioned in the same breath, right?
Mark, anything on Lakeside?
Yeah,
even the tournament itself.
Yeah, I go back to the same thing. That's got a very educated fan base that attends Lakeside. The folks that tend to go to Lakeside, for the most part, they're almost majority friends and family of the players. And with it being such a small event, I really don't like the updated stage. I grew up watching Lakeside as a kid. One of my fondest memories is actually watching the 94 final when John Park demolished Bobby George. Didn't even know who John Park was at the time, but talk about an understory and a bolt of lightning. And, they actually sit and co-commentate with John a couple of years ago at the cross border. It was just phenomenal. But that's one of my fondest memories. And that venue itself, definitely, I would say, to Peter's point, it needs a real revamp to bring it up to sort of modern day standards. But it's got the heritage, it's got the nostalgia, and it's got some of the X factors. One of the things that I really like about it is the ladies event. I like watching the ladies event, especially because there's a couple of standout ladies today that we know. I love watching people like Bo do her thing, and some of the Trina Gullivers of the world, the old school ladies, Phil Taylor, if you will. It adds an extra element to that type of event beyond the traditional men's event. So it's still got a place, definitely, to reiterate what Peter was saying. I don't think it should try to compete with what the PDC is trying to provide. It's a different product, and I think they're doing a nice job of making a resurgence there.
And
I was
hats
happy
off to the WDF. Really, hats off to the WDF for putting that together. I mean, they got dealt a terrible hand, right? When the BDO ended up going belly up and they basically stepped in. I wouldn't have wanted to be in their shoes. So, massive kudos to that organization for managing to get this event staged, find another TV contract, all the stuff that they didn't think they were going to be doing, they did. And here we are. So I got to say, well done, WDF, Nick Rolls and the team, well done.
Yeah, and what you touched on in terms of from an amateur standpoint, these were some conversations that we had casually and with some of the actual organizers, and I was a proponent of that for a long time. Two to move it to where it is. Pre PDC World Championship at the end of November, beginning of December. I know there's been some controversy about that placing, but put it there. Put it as an appetizer, as a warm up to the championship season, and acknowledge that this is the amateur world championship in a respectful way to sort of then garner more respect for the individuals that get up there, and acknowledge that these are working people. These are people that provide for their families, with other employment, but that come home and dedicate themselves to putting in those 3-4 plus hours on the dartboard. So look at what they're doing now. If they whatever averages, let's appreciate it for what it is in that scope. Because I always felt it was a disservice to put it right after the PDC World Championship. It was a disservice to the players that worked hard to get into that position.
I think that's a fantastic point. That is something I was actually thinking about the bringing that up as well. I'm glad you said it, because it slipped my mind. That is a fantastic point. It deserves to breathe. It deserves to have its own life. And when you put it on the tail of arguably the biggest spectacle in all of darts, it loses something. No fault of the event, it just loses something. How do you follow I Can't Spake with the WDF World Championship? How do you measure up to that level? You can't, right? But you put it now where it is, it's going to showcase great talent. There's going to be some great darts thrown there. People that you'll see, possibly at some point make transition, come into the PDC or what have you. So you now get a chance really to appreciate it, and it wets your whistle. It does. It really gives you. I like the term you used, appetizer. I really think that's a great way to describe it.
Yeah, just as enjoyable, exciting, and it gets things started, right? And to Mark's great point that, I know I'm one of them. This is really a time where the ladies' game gets more of a focus, and it really, you do get excited that it's the best. You start to see where that top 8 develops, and it's like, boy, oh boy, I'm not going to miss any of the matches as we progress here. And in all fairness, I should have opened up with this and a nod to our good friend Richard Ashdown. This tournament will be taking place at the Lakeside.
Hi ho.
Richard, we love you. We miss you. And shout out to another good friend I hear that's in the chat, the famous Mr. Phil Boz. So thanks for Phil for joining us there. So
You missed Richard. I saw him last week.
Good. Well, you're the Globetrotter guy. I'm stuck here in Texas. What do you want, Citera? Get off my back. So let's look at we've got some North American players going on. I've got some. I guess I'll quickly go over the schedules. We've got 4 men going over from North America and 1 female. So Jacob Taylor, I think he plays opening night Friday, December 29th. He's playing Carl Wilkinson. Then December 1st, Jeff Springer, who was going to join us this evening, and we want to acknowledge Jeff. Big storms came through the Pacific Northwest, so we want to wish Jeff, his lovely lady, and friends and family all the best as they get through blackouts and some storms up there. And we'll get Jeff on, I'm sure, at some point on 25. Jeff Springer plays Sunday, December 1st against Aaron Turner. Kevin Luke also plays on December 1st against Cybrin Gibels. And Miss Paula Murphy plays Saturday, December 1st against Paulette Jacqueline. A lot of underlying stories in that one. And then December 4th, our seed from North America, Jason Brandon, he will take on the winner of Kadar or Shiner. So a lot of stuff to talk about there. WDF, I'm sure if you pull up World Darts Federation, you can, and also their social media, you can get the full schedule and the bracket and all that good stuff. So Mark, give us if you've got anything on some of those players, and we'll talk about that, and then we can talk about the broader tournament.
Yeah, first of all, congrats to the amount of players that are representing. That's a testament to to the standard here in the CDC and opening the avenues to actually, get those people in the venues themselves. As far as the talent that's there, I think there's opportunity abound. I think the the the, uh, the Jacob Taylors of the world. I talk about Jacob a lot. I think he's underperformed by the standards we've seen. We know the averages that he can throw. He could cause a lot of problems if he gets comfortable. He's got no issue in playing the competitor, playing the player that he's playing, and throwing up a three-digit average. Jason Brandon is historically very, very hard to beat. He's probably one of the toughest match play players on the CD circuit, in my opinion. And I think he'll stand himself in good stead as he heads over there. And then Paula's tried and tested. I think she's got lots of potential to run deep in the ladies event. I'm not looking past Paula Jacqueline by any standard, but I think she's got lots of potential. And we know that she knows how to win and knows how to compete at that level.
Pete, a look at from your perspective that our players going. We've got 3 current CDC card holders, right? And Taylor, Brandon, Springer, Luke, a former tour card holder, but this past year won 2 of our summer events, and so you've got some championship pedigree there, and some CDC action going to the Lakeside. I'm going to now run that into the ground, by the way.
You sound like Mario, just to be candid. Super Mario.
A little Mario action? Okay, well, it's me doing a British guy doing the Lakeside. It's a little rough. It's a little rough.
Let's go.
There you go. Peter's picking up what I'm picking up.
Wait. But in all fairness, that's from the guy who I'm sitting next to him in the seat, gets accused in the chat of doing CDC commentary, and why is he putting on a fake Irish accent? So who knows?
Well, hey, come on. We all know that he's really, as you mentioned, Brooklyn. This is just the stage, Come on. So Mark's analysis is spot on there. Jacob Taylor, I think, has got what it takes to really go deep. I hope that this is his breakout. I really do. We know he's got the talent. We know he's unflappable. If he gets through Carl Wilkinson, he gets Benjamin Pratimer, no slouch. But I really think that the way the bracket sets up, that he has a good chance to make a deep run. Obviously, Jason Brandon is the seed, right? I think he's the whatever he is, 11, whatever it happens to be. But Jason Brandon, he's coming off just a great couple of years. He's playing at the top of his game. He gets the winner of 2, let's face it, nobody here follows Laszlo Kadar, right? Or Hans Schneier. They're not on our radar. I'm not saying they're not great players, but I know that Jason Brandon has what it takes to beat either of those guys, even without looking at them and saying, knowing a lot about their games. Springer Turner, I obviously love Jeff Springer. If he ends up beating Aaron, I have a feeling that I'm going to need to buy Laura a drink at the World Championships. Aaron's wife is a dear friend of mine, and I think there might be a drink that's wagered on that. But love to see Jeff do well as well. I'm really glad you mentioned the ladies too. That is something that's, I love the PDC doing the women's series and such, but have that ladies, world championship is something that's just special, right? I'm very blessed that I knew Stacy Bromberg, the PDC Women's World Champion, reigning PDC Women's World Champion. God rest her soul. The women's game does have a lot to offer now more than ever, and watching that competition is going to be great.
So two notables for me, to sort of tie into the early part about, wanting to play at an iconic Lakeside venue. Matthew Edgar plays Saturday, November 30th, and he was very open about his desire, and that's what his drive has been, playing the WDF circuit this year to get himself that bucket list check off to play at Lakeside. And then a friend to just about everybody in the darting world, Monday, December 2nd, in the evening session, one Paul Lim returns to the stage that he hit the 9 dart in 1990, I believe, or was it 91, at the Lakeside in the BDO. So Paul Lim returns. I'll put you both on the spot. We'll pull the curtain back a little bit. I was just looking for the seating and I can't get my hands on it. Do you guys do you know the seeds, just to give them the proper due on who's coming in as the highest seeds in the tournament?
I believe I just popped in because I was saying, I know Jason Brandon's a seed. I forgot what it was, so I just pulled it up. It's sitting over here. I assume this is correct. All right, so I am not vouching for this accuracy, but from what I have just pulled up, number 1 seed is Danny Porter. He is Australian. Martin Turner, he'll have the 16. The 8-9 is Pratimer, as I mentioned, Benjamin Pratimer, who'll get Jacob Taylor if he happens to pull through.
Yeah, give us the top. Give us, say, the top 3 seeds, men and women,
Sure.
if you got, just so people know, the players to look for, the favorites going into the event.
Okay, sure, absolutely. Danny Porter, number 1 out of Australia. The 2 seed is Jimmy Van Schlee out of the Netherlands. The 3 is Neil Duff, a name that I think most people would know. England's Neil Duff.
Former champion.
Yes, exactly right. And the 4 seed is another Australian, Brandon Weaning.
Thank you.
On the ladies' side, number 1 seed is obviously Bo Greaves. The 2 is Aileen de Graaf, and these are pretty household names. The number 3, Rihanna Sullivan, and the number 4 is the steadfast and all omnipresent Dana Hedman.
Absolutely.
So just to
fantastic.
clarify,
Right, so
Neil Duff is from Northern Ireland. Just
oh yeah. Mark.
I guess that's true. Yeah.
Northern Ireland champion in 22, I believe.
Yes.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah. Any last things on the? Or go ahead, Pete. You got something?
No, I do not have anything other than I may have just offended both the English and the Irish.
not at all.
Not hard to do.
You got thick skin. You'll be fine.
Any other sort of take on Lakeside, Mark, before we sort of transition out of this?
The date move, one of the things I think is a benefit is it's not butting up to Q School, which is a bugbear for many of the players.
Yes, that caused many issues.
I think this just gives a little bit of freedom for those players to focus on this event, not have it in the back of their mind if they're going to do that. If they're not going to do that, they can, let this event take its course and then see what January brings. So I think that the date move for all the things that you guys said, plus that, is a bonus for everyone. So.
All right, so just to wrap that up, and then definitely give them some publicity if you want to keep tabs on the World Darts Federation on Facebook and X, and also their website is dartswdf.com. The information that we were able to garner is, if you search on YouTube for Great Game is the channel, all capital letters there, Great Game. That will be the coverage. I think there is some regional coverage on Blaze, which is in Europe, but those of us on this side of the pond will be able to follow that on YouTube. And I'm sure as well, if you simply, when the event gets underway, start to search WDF 2024 Lakeside Championship, that'll get you to the right pages. So we want to wish everybody involved in that tournament the best of luck, and of course, go, all of our North American players. And just a little thing that just occurred to me, was brought up by Mark, that, this is still this is still a big resume piece. These are big opportunities for players to go over and put this on the CV, as they would say in Europe. So big stuff to play for there at the Lakeside. And that'll be the last time we go there. So thank you, gents, for that segment. Now let's go to two things. One is the newsletter. We want to encourage you to sign up for the newsletter. So I think we've got a graphic possibly. Put us to the side, and you can sign up for the official CDC newsletter. You can keep tabs on our events coming up, great promos and information from our sponsors, news on the Q School series, and everything. We've got that going out, I believe, once a month, correct, Peter, on the newsletter?
So actually, it's kind of sometimes every other week is what we shoot for. Twice a month. It's
twice a month. Our showrunner KJ's giving me 2 fingers up, and thankfully it's 2 and not 1. So yeah, we try and bring you as much information hot off the presses as we can, and like I said, to sort of stay up to date on what we're doing. So encourage you highly to sign up for the official CDC newsletter. And then we want to go to a graphic on the PDC. I think we've got a PDC graphic promoting the upcoming PDC US Darts Masters, and there you go. The PDC Darts hits New York. You've got on sale dates for those here in the US coming up. If you're a member of PDC TV, you'll get an opportunity to get some tickets. So I encourage you to sign up. You should be a member of PDC TV anyway, right, Pete? I mean, for goodness gracious, you get full CDC coverage on PDC, and as a bonus, they throw in a couple PDC games, But you want to go to PDC TV for all your championship dart circuit coverage. And then it's all going to unfold there over 2 days for ticketing. You can get in early and some general tickets, and you want to join us June 27th to 28th at the theater at Madison Square Garden. So don't miss out on that. I truly mean that. Don't miss this event. The tickets are going to move fast. They've progressively moved fast each and every year, and we are highly anticipating a sellout. So don't miss New York City. So let's bring the boys back in full. Give them a chance to, have any closing statements. I want to obviously thank both Mark and Peter for joining me tonight. It's been fabulous. I love chatting with you guys. So, Mark, if there's anything you want to, from a dart perspective, personal perspective, anything you'd like to close with?
No, it's just great to get on here. It reminds me of old times, Anthony, as we were reminiscing before we get on here. It's great to sort of just talk at this level.
Love it.
Talk at this level. Always good to catch up. Lots of good darts coming thick and fast, and can't wait to jump back on here and dissect a lot more as we get through the rest of the time. So happy holidays to everyone. For those in the States, happy Thanksgiving, and pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much, Mark. Thanks for joining us, and always a pleasure to chat with you. So over to my good friend Peter Citera.
I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up the fact that we have a really cool event for our kids, our youth, coming up coming week over in Gibraltar. The Youth JDC World Championship, the JDC Junior World Cup. All the best and good luck. We're behind. Team Canada is Jacob Saw, Ben Goddard, Ethan Marshall, and Kaylee Penny. And Team USA is Zachary Meeks, Stowe Bunce Jr., Tegan Crouch, and Dylan Geary. And you go over to the JDC YouTube channel. They will be broadcasting some matches. Follow our social. I'm sure on Facebook. Aaron Quinn, our youth director, will be sharing some stuff, some matches. Probably do a little live action. So just let's cheer those teams on. They're the future of the game, and we could not be prouder of these wonderful youth.
You put it on a tee, and Citera knocks it right out. So I'll give you a little JDC there, and then we'll get back to Pete if you want to close it or anything. Yeah, I absolutely keep tabs on our social media pages at Champ Darts, and we'll have that information through Aaron, and I'll help disseminate that as well. And also to Dart Connect, there'll be a lot of matches that you'll want to follow in round robin phases and everything. That Dart Connect's going to cover everything. So it is a whole lot of fun to root on these young players in Gibraltar. So here to everything that Peter just laid out to us. So back to you, Pete, if there's anything personal or anything else before we close.
No, all I'll say is really, really excited for obviously the World Championship. We'll do some interviews with the guys and get them over. So I know you'll have another show, but certainly best of luck, Leonard Gates, Jim Long, Sto Bunce, and of course Rashad Sweeting from the CDLC. Really looking forward to seeing him make his debut from Jamaica, first Jamaican to grace that stage. There's a lot of firsts that our organization has been able to put together, whether it be us at CDC or our subsidiary organization, Latin America and the Caribbean. Jeff does a fantastic job down there. So, if you're not involved, this truly is the time to get involved. There's some really cool stuff available. And I think 2025, looking forward, is just going to be a fantastic year. So come join us on tour and come watch our events. We'll have some ticketed events as always. And as always, Ant, great to talk with you. Great to talk with you, Mark. Thanks for having me. It was a really good show.
Thanks, Pete. And a reminder, yes, our next official episode of Shooting the Bull will be Thursday, December 19th. As Pete said, we will definitely touch on the World Championship. It will be underway at that point, and we'll also look back and see how our teams did in Gibraltar. But like Pete said, don't sit back and wait till December 19th. We may have a little bonus episode along the way of Shooting the Bull. Pete's going to get caught up with the players, so definitely keep tabs on the social media platforms at Champ Darts. You can find us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and even TikTok. So we'll get out a lot of cool information in the next couple of weeks to get all ramped up for the upcoming World Championship. So with that, thank you very much to Mark Taggart. Thank you very much to Peter Citera. Thank you behind the scenes to Jeff McMahon and KJ McGlynn. Thank you to all of you out there for watching. We greatly appreciate the support, and we appreciate you watching. And hit the closer, Jeff. Go for it.
Thanks for joining us for Shooting the Bull, the official podcast of the Championship Darts Circuit. Subscribe to the show so you don't miss an episode, and follow us at Champ Darts on social media to keep up with all of the latest news on North American darts.